But I continue to hope that the other African American students who are here with me and the white students who are here could get along. And that did not happen every day. You know, I have been really blessed, I think, that I have not had real tragedy in my life. And I'm not wishing for it. And if I have had that experience and I don't know it, then I'm really blessed. Or I'm a really strong person in that I have not recognized the really, really bad days in my life. I'm Deborah Northcross, and I share hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
I am talking to Deborah Northcross. She is a dear friend of mine, and I am so looking forward to hearing this story. So, tell me a little more about you, Deborah.
Well, Chris, you know me as a board member of the Memphis Child Advocacy Center, but I am single female, longtime Memphian, a workaholic, a failure at retirement. I've been an educator for the last 40 years. And when I say I failed retirement, I really did. I did retire, but I did not like retirement, so I found another job in the field of education. And I remain a workaholic.
Good for you.
In fact, I did not ever turn off my alarm. It still goes off at 6:15 in the morning. I like education, and I think my passion stems from my father, who at a very young age, at my young age, told me and my brothers to read. And as I look around this room that we're sitting in, there are posters that say read, read, read. And I am impressed by that because we're sitting in my high school library. I think that's where my passion for education comes from.
That's great. You have been in Memphis your whole life?
I was born in Nashville.
Okay.
Spent a little bit of time in New York when my father was doing a residency in New Jersey. We lived with his mother, who lived in the Bronx. But having been born in Nashville, we spent a little bit of time with my mother's mother, living with her, while my father was in dental school, rather. But for the most part, I've lived in Memphis.
So Deborah and I have been talking about sharing her story, really to my kids, for months now, and still haven't made that happen. So maybe I'll just take this recording home and play it for them. But no, we want to have you over for dinner. But Deborah's story came to my attention through serving on the board with her at the Memphis Child Advocacy Center, and I think it was Virginia Stallworth over there who mentioned a bit of Deborah's history, and I didn't know. And she is a wonderful piece of Memphis that without Deborah and her family, Memphis would be an unfortunate place. I'm sure others would step up and do some of the things that Deborah's and her family have done, but they were at the right place at the right time and had a phenomenal opportunity. So before we get into that, and before we get into more of why we're sitting here in the Central High School library, Deborah, tell me your favorite quote about hope, or a quote that somebody else has put together that you just love and means a lot to you.
My favorite quote, and I think it came from Oprah about hope, is that the next road is always ahead. And I think, to me, it means there's something always to look forward to. There may be a better life ahead, a better opportunity ahead, but the next road is always ahead. So always look ahead. Not that you cannot look back and remember or learn from the past, but the next road is always ahead.
It's a great quote. It really is. Oprah has done a phenomenal job at finding real life stories and putting them in a format that we can really relate to. And I love that. It's easy for me too to live in my past and not really looking forward, because I can blame a lot of things in my past, but I can only blame forward a lot of times on me, and it's scary to do that because I might do it wrong.
We can always learn from the past.
Yeah. Great. So tell us, who's been the best deliverer of hope to you in your life? Who's given you a lot of hope as you've grown?
I don't think any one person, but I think teachers in general. And I guess I'm reverting back to education. Teachers have always broadened my base of knowledge. And I can think of a 6th grade teacher, a 4th grade teacher. My homeroom teacher here, I was just asking the principal about Opal Smith, who was my homeroom teacher here. But just teachers in general who offered me more knowledge and broadened my base of knowledge, which gave me opportunities to look at the next road ahead or seek the next road ahead.
Wow. Education is a big deal.
It is for me. And I guess it goes back to my parents always saying read, even if it's the funny paper or comic book. read, because it just expands you. It just broadens you.
Yeah. I think there's so many great efforts around the world for education, and the more of these interviews that I get to do about hope, the more I realize how connected education is to a hunger issue, or a human trafficking issue, or poverty, or a racial issue, or any kind of discrimination. You just go on and on and on in the ails of humanity, and education seems to come back so many times.
And I'm so fearful of the students today, especially the younger kids who don't have opportunities, educational opportunities, or don't take advantage of educational opportunities to broaden their horizons by reading, by exposing themselves to higher education. It makes me fearful for them, for their future. And I'm just fearful.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're at the mercy of someone who's more educated than they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They may not feel it, but it's reality. Okay. So question number 3 is, take us back in a time in your life, wherever you want, and paint a picture. Give us some history, some background, some context. What was life going on around you, and what was life going on inside you? And how did you use hope to get through some hard times?
Good question. And when I think about that question, I wonder if I've had that experience yet. Have I been in a situation where I have been so at a loss or so distressed that I've had to pull on hope? Because I've seen so many other people around me who have been in a more dire situation than me. And I don't know that I've had that situation yet. I think about the current Ferguson situation, which is traumatic in so many ways. And it could really happen right here in Memphis.
Yeah, it could.
And I'm so proud of how Memphians have reacted or not reacted to the killing of Michael Brown. But getting back to me, I don't know that I have had a situation that I have had to pull on hope yet. But then when I came here in 1966, I hoped that I could be in this educational community and get a fine education, which I did, in spite of the racial tension, in spite of the unwelcoming atmosphere. I knew why I was here, and my parents continued to tell me, "You're here to get an education." And I did, a very good education. But I continued to hope that the other African American students who were here with me and the white students who were here could get along. And that did not happen every day. I had hoped there would be a prom my senior year, but that never happened because they cut out the prom when the African American students came here.
Wow.
Every day was not bad, and I did make friends with some white students, and I have some friends still today among the white community. But I think I was hopeful while my 3 years here. That things would just be better for the Memphis school system. And I guess I held I won't say a leadership role, but the case that was filed in my name was major at that time.
Mm-hmm.
In trying to better the education system for African American students. The place looks very different now as I walked in here today. Quite different. So I guess the Northcross versus the Board of Education did make a difference. Visually, it did anyway.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think you might be right.
I'd have to talk to the students to see if it did otherwise.
Yeah, harder to change hearts than laws.
Absolutely.
So how old were you when your family was involved in the case against the Board of Education?
I was 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old. The case was filed 1961, I believe, which would have made me 10 years old. I came here in 1966. That was a few years after the Brown case. So clearly Memphis was not acting with all deliberate speed to desegregate the school system here.
Yeah.
So that's why the case was filed.
Wow.
And there were several desegregation plans even after I came here and after the suit was filed. And it took a while. There was even busing of students even after I started here. So it still took a while for full integration to take place within the school system in Memphis.
Yeah, sounds like it did. Several years after.
Several. Mm-hmm.
And again, we were just dealing with laws, not hearts at that point.
Yes. And I guess I still have a hope that Memphis, there's still a lot of racial issues in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that we will, at a point in Memphis, see the value of races, RACES, and appreciate races a bit more, so we can enjoy the differences, value the differences.
I agree. I think for too many people in our city and around the world, it's not just an issue of what color do we see or not see. Some people say they're colorblind. I'm sure they're probably not in every way. It's not the color, it's the culture, and it's the appreciation of how somebody else does holidays. It's the appreciation of how somebody else throws a birthday party. It's the appreciation of how somebody else decorates the inside of their living room or their den.
Right.
It's the appreciation of the spices they use at the barbecue in the backyard. It's the appreciation of a different way of saying the same word. Things that make us a community and make us like each other, but also adds so much beauty to a conversation and a party in a neighborhood and a city. And I think we do have a long way to go. And I'm so glad you started a lot of things rolling along a long group of years ago, but really not that long ago. It's amazing how recent that is.
It seems like it to me as well, but it also seems like we still have a long way to go.
We do.
Yeah, I hear the term race blind a lot, and I don't like that term, being race blind, because that connotes to me that we don't value each other's race or ethnicity. I think we can be race tolerant.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we are in Memphis enough.
Correct. Or even race appreciative. I don't want to be colorblind or race blind, because I really like the way other people do things. You know, there's some better ways to do a lot of things. Just literally in my own family, that some African American families and some Hispanic families and some Asian families and the 20-something nationalities at the public school that our family attends. It's fantastic. Wow. And I think the racial diversity here at Central High is probably that diverse at this point. And if you really get into it, it's really amazing.
If everybody was the same, it would be so boring, so dull.
It really would be.
Gee.
Oh,
very
man.
dull.
So, what was it like walking in here day one? So you might have changed the law, but I'm assuming some people were threatening and maybe a little media outside. I have no idea. I'm just trying to see, what was it like walking from your car to the door?
I was a bit nervous. I remember walking up the side steps, and a teacher said something to me, and I just responded, huh? Because I didn't hear what she said. And she said, "We don't say huh here." I said, oh boy, here we go.
Wow.
First day. I was not the only African American student who walked through the doors the first day. I can't remember how many there were, but there were in excess of 15 or 20. So I was not here alone. So we sought out each other clearly.
Sure.
And it was nothing like the Central High School in Little Rock, where they had dogs and the National Guard at the doors. It was much more calm, but there was a lot of tension. There was a wait and see what the white students were going to do to us and what the black students were going to do to them. And it was just a wait-and-see atmosphere.
Huh.
In the classes, the teachers were... I didn't have a problem with the teachers. My homeroom teacher, Miss Opal Smith, did tell me, though, after a year that I was here, that though I had made the grades, I was not going to be admitted into the National Honor Society.
My goodness. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Purely
that's-
based on race.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was glad to know that I was smart enough to be in it, though, but I was not going to be admitted.
Wow. I think you were smarter than your teacher at that point.
The bottom line for me, though, I did make friends. There were very few incidences, fights or just brawls, very few of those here. I did make friends. I still regret the fact that I never went to a prom. I guess that's just a girl thing. I got a great education. I learned to write really well here.
Wow.
I learned to appreciate English literature here, and I hate that I cannot remember my English lit teacher's name, but my favorite book today that I read here was The Tale of Two Cities. I will never forget it. But it was an experience. It was character building,
I bet.
to say the least.
So you had obviously a lot of opportunity to get down and bitter, angry, hurt, depressed, all those sorts of things that come from an average day walking in a hard situation that many people have gone through in many different ways. What kept you from turning out that way? Because there are a lot of people on both sides, or on any side of the race conversation all over the world, that are hurt and bitter and angry, and what keeps it from happening to you?
My parents kept telling me, you're there to get an education. Remember why you're there. And I also remembered that my parents were getting threats. And if they could take it, I could take it. And I know that the suit was filed in my father's name, or my family's name, because he was an entrepreneur. He was a dentist. He could not be fired by a company.
Good point. Right.
So he took the stance. He said, okay, I'll let the NAACP use my name in filing this suit. He was brave enough to do that.
That's brave.
So if he could do that, I could stand up and walk these halls every day and take whatever came my way.
Wow.
So
You come from good stock. Wish I'd known your family.
they were pretty cool.
I think they were.
Yeah.
Impressive. So, Deborah, the next question is, how are you sharing hope today? You have created a lot of hope in your own heart, and your family's given you a lot of hope in your heart. Your teachers have given you a lot of hope. You've got a phenomenal story, and you've proven that it works and it lasts, and you can hang on to it. So, how are you passing that along in your life today?
In my 2 or 3 jobs that I've had over the last 40 years, they've been working with what the U.S. Department of Education calls disadvantaged students. So I've been providing them hope, working with them to support them in their educational pursuits. I've administered a couple of programs that are really support services programs for them, but the students that I worked with are first generation college, low income, or disabled students.
Okay.
So, and the purpose of those programs are to support them in their high school or college education. And the last program I worked with was to help them in their PhD pursuit.
Wow.
So,
But you have some great stories come out of that.
I have. I have. So that's, it's all about education for me.
I like that. It does come back.
It does. And just to hear them come back to me and say how I've helped them. I had a call from a former student the other day. She's in New York. She's delayed going to graduate school, but she now is ready to apply to graduate school to get her PhD, and she wants a recommendation. She wants me to help her.
Sure.
So I'm ready to help her.
Absolutely. Wow. That's a really good practical way to
So-
use your professional and personal background
Mm-hmm.
in a really hands-on way to change the
So-
lives you can name. You can name who you've touched, you
Yeah.
know? Wow.
So the job I have now, I'm no longer working directly with students, but I'm working with the staff who work with those type of students.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing training workshops to train the staff who work with those students.
Wonderful. You know, I don't think most of us realize that our daily jobs, if that's working behind a piece of equipment, or if it's working in a medical office or as a teacher, or working in the home, taking care of kids, or working in a place that's overseas, even in another country. I don't think we realize how much those daily tasks and daily relationships and daily encounters with the same people, same coworker, the same student, same patient, same child, whatever it may be, those are all opportunities to share hope. Because if it's a 2-year-old who skinned their knee, or if it's an 18-year-old who is learning how to read, either one, they need hope.
Just a little encouragement, just a positive word, just a small thing can give somebody hope.
And can take your mind off your own troubles.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about somebody else's instead of yours, yeah. Number 5 down there, from a question standpoint, is the ABCs, kind of the 1, 2, 3s. How can we walk away from this conversation, and how can we learn some really practical ways to use hope in our own lives or in the lives right around us? So there's a lot of people listening, and a lot of people that may have come from a hard relationship, or maybe an illness, could be a financial crisis, or chemical addiction, whatever it may be. What do we do next?
I think just what you and I were just saying, just give a little encouragement to somebody every day. A positive word. A hug. Pat on the back. Or say something positive to somebody. A little advice to somebody.
But Deborah, do you ever have those days when you feel like you just can't give somebody a hug or give them a pat on the back because you're just so desperately in need of one yourself? And how do you work past that in your own head when there's nobody around you to pat you on the back some days?
No. I haven't had that day. Now, there's some days that I have not been around people. Some days I don't come out of the house. But I've talked to people on the phone,
Sure.
and I can give them a word of encouragement, or just, how's your conduct today? What have you done positive for? How can I help you today? How can I help you today?
Mm-hmm. So you're going to go out of your way to make sure that you don't let a feeling that you're having for a moment or a day or a month change the course of your life.
Well, I'm going to try not to, Chris.
That's great.
You know, I have been really blessed, I think, that I have not had real tragedy in my life. And I won't say that the death of my parents, that was tragic for me.
Mm-hmm.
But you move on.
Mm-hmm.
But something like losing a house in a fire, or just a catastrophic or terminal illness, or something that can just really devastate you, I've not had that. And I'm not wishing for it, but I see people around me who have just been devastated by life's circumstances, and that may come to me one day. And at that point, I guess I'm going to have to pull on some real hope. And I'm going to need a pat on the back or a word of encouragement. And I guess that's why I say I'm blessed that I've not had that experience yet. And if I have had that experience and I don't know it, then I'm really blessed.
Yeah.
I really am.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm waiting for the shoe to fall. Or I'm a really strong person in that I have not recognized the really, really bad days in my life. This is very interesting.
It is interesting, and I've learned through these interviews, Deborah, that there seems to be some people who've had those hard times, and they've had to come back from nothing and rebuild their hope and their minds and their lives and their relationships and everything.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I have not had to come back from nothing.
But I've heard the same level of hardship come from people like what you're saying right now. A lot of people would say what you've gone through should have left a scar on your heart that I would feel as a white guy every time you walk up to me, that I would feel your pain or your frustration towards me. But some of the people we've interviewed, it's like they naturally don't carry that stuff. And
I would be mad every day then if I carried it like that.
And I think that's the key here, because, and as a kid going to basketball camps, for instance, there were these college guys who were teaching us how to play basketball. And some of those guys were just natural. They were genetically made to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But they could still teach me the steps and the processes. And yeah, they'd probably be able to do it more naturally and quicker and better than I ever will.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were the guys who had to work hard to get there, and they were actually teaching the same steps and same processes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even though you carry it differently, you're giving us still a clear line of sight, because you're simply not letting it soak in a way that stays on you. Yes, it happened, but yes, I think the quote you started with is a great one from Oprah. It is behind us, and there is so much road ahead, and you are the one who gets to choose what that road's going to look like. In some ways, some people can't choose that road, but in a lot of ways, we can. Some of the most hopeful people we're talking to are still in very hard situations, and it's amazing what they're doing.
You're causing me to think why I don't carry it. And maybe I carry it differently. Because if I carried it the way I think you would anticipate that I carry it, I would be a very angry person every day, all day. And I can't live like that. Like the I go back to the Ferguson mess, or the pattern that I see of white policemen killing black males. That pisses me off because it seems to be a pattern.
Sure. It should make you mad.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
But no, it's not a but. It makes me very angry. And I hope that the road ahead I'm missing the word, but gets rid of the pattern. It's got something has got to be done about the pattern. There seems to be no justice, and the fighting, the looting, the violence, all that. It's a demonstration of feelings of the unjust feelings, but it's not a fix. It's not a fix. But it is a demonstration that I hope people take heed to. But I'm angry as hell about it. About the pattern.
Yeah, you should be. I think that's honest. To say you weren't wouldn't be honest.
And I'm afraid that if the pattern is not undone, this country is going to explode. And I don't know that I have any hope for that. I don't see any hope for the pattern being undone, unraveled. I really don't.
A pattern started unraveling when you were a kid. Started unraveling. It didn't unravel all the way. What was driving that change that's not present now? Or that you're wondering if it is present now?
Is the pattern present now?
I mean, no, the potential for change. You're saying you're not sure you have any hope for the right kind of change happening, but something was happening when you were a kid that was starting to turn the way society viewed things, acted, and then potentially believed. But
because of the lawsuit?
Yeah,
but that was forced.
Right.
That was not.
It wasn't real change.
No, it was because it was forced.
It's a law, not a heart change. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Our hearts just haven't changed.
It was a long time coming. It was forced. Hearts didn't change.
Right.
hearts still haven't changed. Hearts still haven't changed. I don't know that hearts, and some hearts won't change, and I know that. And that's why we're seeing the pattern that we're seeing today.
But Deborah, some hearts do.
Some do. Oh, absolutely.
Yours and mine, and we
God.
have some great friends here in town we know
Yes.
that are. So why is it that they're able to change? Why is it that you and I are able to make a choice and get past something that's caused us so much pain? I'm not sure I'm past some of the pain in my life, but I'm...
That's a very good question. Why are some hearts able to change? Because of experiences. Because of experiences. Would you say that you have experiences with different cultures, peoples, as opposed to one whose heart has not changed?
I'd say that my experience with the people in other cultures, obviously, honestly, are a mixed bag. We'd have to say that. There are people acting outside of my control that some of those things make me smile, some make me frown. And I have to be honest about that, like you're being honest about that. But if I want to return the favor to the one that makes me smile, then I need to smile back in some activity. And if I want to make the angry person across from me at some point more angry, I just reply with anger. But if I don't want to do it, and I don't want to do that, then I try to reply with love and with graciousness and with a realization that whatever culture they're from, and we have so many cultures in Memphis, whatever culture they're from, there's something about me that is triggering something in them that relates to their past. Somebody like me has caused them harm, and it's not my fault. And honestly, at that point, it's probably not their fault. And maybe I can give them one reason to think maybe some of the people like that, whatever that is, maybe they're different. I think we all have that happen.
That's a start.
A quick little cutoff in traffic, or grabbing the grocery cart when I'm in Kroger, whatever it may be. And I'm sure there's things that I do that I don't even realize that offend somebody from another culture, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But I want to be aware, and I want to be acting in love, and I want to be showing people that there is a better way to do things. Not better than their way, just there's a better way for all of us.
What it is about changing the heart, and I guess the difference is our experiences with other people, or what we learn from parents about other people. Because I would say a child who has no experience with someone can learn something from his or her parent.
Yeah.
And it's just passed down. You're not supposed to like this person or this culture.
Right.
So that is just ignorant.
It is ignorant. And unfortunately, the parent may not know any better, maybe, because they were taught that, and their parents taught that, and on it goes.
Exactly.
But if you're listening to this, or if you're reading or learning or thinking and changing a little bit, just start changing a little bit more. And I have a long way to go, and each of us do, but a little bit more is a step, and a little bit more after that is the next step.
Yeah.
And it picks up on itself. Deborah, you've been tremendous, telling us things about your life and your past, and giving us a window into a part of the history that it's easy to forget about, or easy just to see newsreels of in black and white, but not really connect to. Oh yeah, that happened to real people.
Well, it's been an adventure.
You've also been a great encouragement to show us that it doesn't have to end in pain and anguish and sorrow for you. And you're the only one who gets to decide what goes on in your head.
Because there's a road ahead.
Yeah, there is. So,
Though I don't know what it is, but there is a road ahead.
there is. There was 40 years ago, and there was 20 years ago, and there was yesterday. There probably will be tomorrow.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah, good word there. All right, Deborah, as we wrap this up, how can people find you? Is there a Facebook, a Twitter, any social media sites out there that you're willing to share publicly that people could be part of your story or conversation or reach out to you in some way?
Well, I have not entered this century
That's good.
in social media.
You're one of the lucky few.
I do have email, but I am not on Twitter, Facebook, or anything of a social media nature.
Well, how about this? A good way to handle this is in the show notes of this podcast, we will make sure there's a connection and get Deborah connected to those show notes. There's a lot of comment sections there, some more info and history about Deborah.
That's fine.
Picture of her and a little more about the story. And if you have any questions for her, we'll make sure she is connected and she can reply and stay in contact.
That sounds great. I'm very willing to do that.
Great. Deborah, thank you very much. On the way out, I ask everybody the same question. Is there a song, an artist, whatever it is you pop in the CD player or MP3 player when you're driving around, if you want to make the day a little sunnier, what are you going to listen to? What's going to make you drive a little faster?
I like the Pharrell Williams song, Happy.
Yeah, no kidding.
I do.
That's great.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah,
Happy.
It is the happy song.
I do.
Yeah, my kids love that too. That's a great song. It does kind of make you smile, doesn't it?
It does. And you know what? That song just went around the world. There were other cultures and other countries doing videos from that song, and it just made me happy to see them do that.
Huh.
It just caught on.
Yeah.
And that was hopeful.
Back to the culture.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That is true.
That was very hopeful.
I love it. Deborah, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, then, thank you.
I'm sorry I got emotional.
I'm not sorry at all.
I found something for you.
Oh.
So, tell me your name again.
My name is
Debbie
Dodson.
Debbie Donson. Debbie Donson is the
Very
librarian
pretty.
here, and she just walked up with a yearbook from, let's see what we got here.
Debbie, I don't know.
A yearbook from the Warriors, 1969, holding it here,
And the one
there
I have
is
at home is green.
Deborah
so
Northcross.
That must be another year there that I had.
On
the
a
green
ribbon.
copy.
Wow. French Club,
That was my major in college. French.
Order of the Redmond. Debbie, thank you. Wow. That's great. What a treat.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful. Love it. You're so pretty. You still are. Wish y'all could be here with Deborah Northcross.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, thank you, Deborah.
Oh, you're welcome.
Can you give me a few audio clips before we walk out of here? You take your time looking at that.
One of my classmates, it was his he died yesterday. Or,
Oh.
let me see. Glenn Yawn. I got he died
No way.
this week.
Wow.
He was a nice guy, too.
Did
Wow.
you stay connected to him through life?
I hadn't seen him in years, but he was he did a lot of work with the black newspaper here, the Tri-State Defender. That's when I would see him a lot.
Just since you can't hear or see through the audio, this fella is a white guy here in the yearbook.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So he obviously beat the
Yeah.
trend a little bit there
Yeah,
too.
he did.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
Wow.
Great memories.
Miss Smith, I wonder what I can. This is too much. but no prom.
So the prom was closed for the whole school?
They never had, I don't know if they have proms. Hey, Debbie, do they have proms here anymore? They do? So when do they start them back?
I wish the other librarian was here because she could tell you the exact date, but for many years, they either did not have a prom at all.
Oh, the year I came, they stopped them.
Yes, I know. Or they had a segregated prom.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not good.
Wow. Deborah, do you mind? Is it Debbie? Is that right?
It's Debbie.
Debbie, do you mind if I use that little snippet of audio clip you bring? Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
What I've heard is that they started having fraternities and sororities.
Oh, they did that.
And so they would have formals.
Uh-huh.
There were no school dances,
Right.
Because they did.
It was all property.
But
Yeah.
they had it was all private. You know, so you went to your fraternity.
Right.
The white kids went to their fraternity or their sorority and
Right.
had their own
Pitiful.
private dances. Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't. Again, we didn't change hearts. We just changed the law. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Debbie,
That's
thanks.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Sigmund.
See a friend as well?
Miss Sigmund was a history teacher. She
Oh,
was
she.
good.
Oh, I see. Miss Sigmund.
I'm looking for that English teacher. She was the best. That's Miss Smith. It's my homeroom teacher.
Wow.
And there was a husband and wife team. She was that English lady. I mean, he taught chemistry and she taught English. Miss Meeks. He taught science. That's her. She made me love The Tale of Two Cities, Miss Meeks.
Wow. Miss Evelyn L. Meeks.
Mm-hmm.
English Honor Society.
Wow.
That's great. Wow. And her husband, was it
Jimmy
Jimmy?
Meeks.
Yeah, Jimmy. He was physics and algebra.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. But they had some smart kids. That's great. I'm glad you got to find her picture.
And we made alcohol in chemistry class. We made moonshine. We sure did.
Did you get to take any home? Any samples home?
No.
Oh. All right, so Deborah, who would you want to hear from if I could ask anybody in the world to answer the same 5 questions? Anybody in the world. There's no limit to this one. Who would it be? Who would you want to hear answer the questions?
I would like to hear Beverly Daniel Tatum. She's the president of Spelman College. And she used to be at my alma mater, Mount Holyoke College. She wrote this book called Why Do All the Black Kids Sit Together in the Cafeteria?
Wow.
She's about to retire as president of Spelman College in Atlanta. And I think Spelman just divorced themselves of Bill Cosby. He gave millions to Spelman College.
Was that his alma mater?
No, but they have a building named Camille Hanks Cosby on their campus, like $20 million worth of building on that campus.
Wow.
So they just,
That's a sad
Spelman, Spelman just said no more ties to the Cosby name. But Beverly is a very astute young lady. She used to be in high administration at Mount Holyoke, where I was. She's president now at Spelman, which is an all-female college in Atlanta. I hear she's about to retire maybe next year.
Wow.
But I was she wrote, I remember, I'm saying her because she wrote this book, Why Do All the Black Kids Sit Together in the Cafeteria?
I'd love to hear her story.
Mm-hmm.
Good one. Good idea.
Yep.
I'll reach out to her.
Beverly Daniel Tatum.
Okay. Fantastic. Anybody else? Bell sounds different than it used to.
That's the bell?
That's the bell. Yep.
Gee.
You've just listened to I Share Hope. If you're ready to make a change, head to our website at isharehope.com and claim your free copy of the top 10 actions of hope from world leaders to use hope in your own life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.